Do you remember a moment when you couldn't express yourself? That time when the words got stuck in your throat, while the truth throbbed inside you, begging to be set free? These silences aren't just empty. They tell stories that mark us deeply. Life is full of missed opportunities to say what we really feel. Often we choose to keep our feelings to ourselves, whether out of fear, insecurity, or simply not knowing how to approach the topic. These silences pile up like an iceberg, where the visible part is just a fraction of what really lies beneath the surface. What's hidden there? Grievances, regrets, fears, and, most importantly, unspoken truths. When we set aside what we feel, we start to create a chasm between ourselves and those we love. Each unsaid word becomes a weight, a burden we carry daily. In relationships, this silence can lead to misunderstandings, distance, and ultimately, a sense of disconnection. How painful it is to realize that instead of building bridges, we end up erecting walls. Remember a moment when the truth could have changed everything. It might have been an unspoken declaration of love, an apology that never came, or constructive criticism that got stuck. The impact of this echoes in our lives, creating a cycle of regret that only grows over time. Every time we don't say what we feel, we distance ourselves from who we really are. These silences may be comfortable at first, but over time they turn into an emotional prison. The need to be heard and understood is an essential aspect of the human experience. When we ignore this need, we risk getting lost in our own story, stifling our essence and drifting away from our deepest desires. It is important to recognize that the unsaid truth can be just as powerful as the expressed truth. What we leave unspoken can shape our reality in ways we don't even realize. With each passing day, the opportunity to open up and be vulnerable becomes more challenging. The courage to confront our silences brings unexpected relief, a sense of liberation that can transform our lives and relationships. In a world where communication is vital, the ability to express what we feel is essential. We need to learn to create safe spaces where we can share our truths without fear of judgment. This is a crucial step in breaking the cycle of silence and paving the way for a deeper understanding between ourselves and others. The truth is that life is short and precious. We cannot afford to live with regrets. By choosing to speak, even when it is difficult, we give ourselves and others the chance to understand and connect, and perhaps by doing so, we can finally start to melt the iceberg of hidden truths that keep us trapped. The journey to overcoming emotional silences begins with a simple step: deciding to open up. Every word we say has the potential to bring about significant changes in our lives. By recognizing the importance of these exchanges, we can cultivate more authentic and meaningful relationships. What is hidden beneath the surface can be set free, and what seemed impossible to say can finally be heard. In the end, what truly matters is that the truth has a space to exist. By facing our fears and silences, we find not only our voice, but also a genuine connection with those around us. These moments of truth are what truly define us and allow us to live fully. It's common for life to present us with situations where we hesitate to share our feelings. Each of us has gone through this. Shame or fear of a negative reaction often prevents us from expressing what's in our hearts. This internal pressure can be suffocating, leading to a cycle of self-criticism and doubts about what we really want to communicate. When we set aside the expression of our feelings, we create an invisible barrier between ourselves and others. This distance can be painful and often unnecessary. Instead of fostering understanding, silence transforms into a fertile ground for misunderstandings. What could be an open and honest conversation ends up becoming a space filled with assumptions and misinterpretations. It's worth remembering that communication is a skill that can be developed. Often, we believe that expressing our feelings should come naturally, but it is a learning process that requires practice and courage. This skill is fundamental to strengthening any relationship, whether it be romantic, familial, or professional. One must have patience with oneself and understand that vulnerability is a sign of strength, not weakness. And if you're thinking that it's not worth risking this vulnerability, consider what might happen if you don't. The accumulation of silence can lead to loneliness. Instead of feeling close to the people you love, you might find yourself increasingly isolated. What should be a space of support and understanding turns into an abyss of disconnection. The absence of effective communication can lead to feelings of helplessness. where the other does not understand your needs and you don't know how to express them. It is essential to create moments of openness where communication becomes a healthy habit. This can start with small conversations in which you feel comfortable. Sharing a thought or concern, no matter how simple, can be the first step in breaking the cycle of silence. As you grow more at ease with the idea of expressing yourself, you can tackle more complex and profound issues. Moreover, it's important to remember that the way we choose to communicate our feelings makes a difference too. A warm tone and a respectful approach can facilitate the other person's openness. Instead of accusing or criticizing, how about framing your feelings around your own experiences? Using phrases that begin with "I feel" or "I notice" can transform a potentially confrontational conversation into a meaningful exchange. Active listening is another skill that should be practiced. This is the ability to hear what the other person is saying without judgment or interruption, and to respond in a way that makes them feel heard and understood. When both sides commit to communicating openly and respectfully, silences diminish and understanding grows. Empathy becomes a central element in this practice, and by putting yourself in the other person's shoes, it is possible to create a safe space for emotional expression. Additionally, we must consider the impact that a lack of communication can have on our mental health. The buildup of unexpressed emotions can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical health problems. The emotional stress resulting from prolonged silences can be as damaging as a visible physical issue. Therefore, it is vital that we seek ways to express ourselves, not only for the sake of our relationships, but also for our own health. When we look at life as a whole, we realize that communication is the foundation of our interactions. From childhood, we are taught to speak and to listen, and as we grow, this skill becomes even more crucial. The relationships we build depend on our ability to express ourselves and understand others. Ignoring this need is to lose the opportunity to experience meaningful connections. It's normal to feel fear when opening up. However, it's essential to remember that most people have their own insecurities and doubts. By sharing your feelings, you might be offering another person the chance to do the same. This act of reciprocity can create deeper bonds and strengthen your relationships. For those who still feel trapped in their silences, it may be helpful to write down their feelings. Writing is a powerful tool that can help organize thoughts and emotions. This process can provide clarity about what you want to communicate and facilitate the transition to speaking. A letter, even if not sent, can be a first step in understanding your emotions and preparing for a conversation. Finally, when reflecting on the silences of life, it's crucial to remember that unexpressed truth does not disappear. It remains, often building up and becoming a burden. The decision to open up and share what is in your heart can be an act of courage that not only transforms your life, but also impacts those around you. By choosing the path of communication, we are opting to live fully, avoiding the regrets that silences can bring. Ultimately, expression is a form of love and care, both for ourselves and for others. By facing the silences, we find the strength to live more authentically and connected. It's a challenge, but one worth confronting. Life is short, and every unspoken word is an opportunity lost. So choose to speak, choose to connect, and more importantly, choose to be free. The courage to express oneself is a fundamental aspect of human life. When we remain silent, we create a barrier that not only distances us from others, but also prevents us from truly knowing ourselves. Silence may seem like a safe choice, but most of the time, it is a trap that confines us within our own thoughts. Each time we choose not to speak, we set aside an opportunity for personal growth and the strengthening of the bonds we have with those around us. Many people face the dilemma of whether to open up or not. The fear of rejection and disapproval can be paralyzing. This hesitation can make a person feel isolated, as if they are living in a separate world, watching life pass by without truly participating in it. This emotional disconnection is painful and can lead to a vicious cycle of loneliness and sadness. It's crucial to understand that sharing one's feelings is not just a way to seek support, but also a means of freeing oneself from the chains that silence imposes. One of the biggest challenges we face when deciding to open up is the insecurity about how our words will be received. This concern is natural, but it's important to remember that often the people around us are more willing to listen than we imagine. They have their own struggles and may identify with ours. By talking about what troubles us or about our desires, we offer others the chance to connect with us on a deeper level. This exchange of vulnerabilities not only helps to alleviate our own burdens, but can also lay the groundwork for healthier relationships. As we embark on this journey of expression, it is essential to find the right moment and the appropriate environment to open up. Creating a safe space where everyone feels comfortable sharing can make all the difference. This can be done in informal conversations, family gatherings, or even in support groups. The important thing is that everyone involved feels that their opinions and feelings are valid and respected. This atmosphere of acceptance can facilitate communication and encourage honesty. In addition to finding the right space, it's vital to have clarity about what we want to communicate. Often words may fail to convey the depth of our feelings. Therefore, it can be helpful to reflect on what you want to say before addressing the topic. This doesn't mean that emotions should be controlled or restrained, but rather that a little preparation can help make the conversation smoother. Writing about feelings can be a good exercise to organize thoughts and facilitate communication. Another strategy is to use language in a way that minimizes potential defensive reactions. Instead of accusing or criticizing, using statements that reflect personal feelings can help soften the impact of the message. For example, starting a sentence with "I feel" or "I notice" can change the dynamics of the conversation. These approaches often invite empathy and understanding rather than resistance. By expressing one's emotions honestly and directly, we create an opportunity for the other person to feel comfortable sharing as well. Active listening is also a crucial component in this process. Carefully listening to what the other person is saying without interruptions shows respect and genuine interest. This practice not only strengthens the connection, but also allows both sides to feel valued. When someone feels heard, they are more likely to open up about their own feelings and experiences. Silences can often be interpreted in various ways, and a lack of communication can fuel misunderstandings. Often, the absence of words is filled with assumptions and misunderstandings. What could be a constructive conversation ends up becoming a fertile ground for distrust and emotional pain. Therefore, it's crucial for people to feel comfortable addressing delicate topics and clarifying misunderstandings before they escalate. It's also important to be aware that even when we open up, we may not always receive the expected reactions. People might not immediately understand what we're trying to express, and that's natural. Communication is a process that involves trial and error. Patience is necessary for everyone to get accustomed to this new dynamic of expression and vulnerability. The key is to keep the dialogue open, allowing conversations to evolve and deepen over time. Additionally, the practice of open communication should not be limited to moments of crisis. It's essential to cultivate the habit of expressing ourselves regularly, sharing not only concerns, but also joys and achievements. This constant exchange strengthens bonds and helps build a solid foundation of trust and understanding. When people feel comfortable sharing both the highs and lows, the connection becomes richer and more meaningful. In an increasingly interconnected world, the ability to communicate effectively and empathetically is more important than ever. Communication is not just about transmitting information, it's also about building relationships and creating a sense of community. By choosing to open up and share, we contribute to a healthier and more welcoming environment where everyone feels valued and understood. Ultimately, it is essential that we recognize that expression is an act of courage. Every time we choose to speak, we are challenging the barriers that keep us silent, allowing our true essence to manifest. This decision not only benefits us, but also enriches the lives of those around us. By freeing ourselves from the silences that imprison us, we take an important step toward a more authentic and connected life. Therefore, when faced with the choice between silence and speech, remember that communication is the key to emotional freedom. Often silence becomes a refuge. However, this refuge can turn into a trap. When you choose not to express yourself, you may think you are preserving peace, but in reality, you are feeding a cycle of disconnection. This disconnection extends not only to others, but also to yourself. Every time you silence your feelings, a part of your essence is stifled. It is important to remember that communication is a two-way street. When you open up, you are not only sharing your emotions, you are also giving the other person the opportunity to connect with you on a deeper level. This exchange creates a space where both can explore their vulnerabilities and thus strengthen the relationship. The act of communicating is, in essence, an invitation to empathy. Empathy is a crucial skill that can transform everyday interactions into meaningful moments. When you share your experiences, you signal to the other person that your emotions are valid. This encourages reciprocity. The other person may feel motivated to share their own struggles and experiences, creating a cycle of openness and understanding. This type of communication not only helps resolve misunderstandings, but also strengthens the bonds between people. However, vulnerability is an aspect that many people are hesitant to embrace. This reluctance can stem from past experiences, where openness was met with criticism or indifference. These fears are understandable, but it's crucial not to let negative past experiences define your future interactions. With every new conversation, you have the chance to set a new standard. To break the cycle of silence, it's important to cultivate an environment where expression is welcomed. This can be done through small actions, like asking open-ended questions that encourage the other person to open up. Instead of asking, "Are you okay?" try asking, "How did you feel about what happened today?" This subtle shift in approach can lead to a richer and more meaningful conversation. Additionally, be mindful of your own emotional state. Sometimes what keeps you from opening up is a lack of clarity about your own feelings. Take some time to reflect on what you are truly feeling. Ask yourself, what is bothering me? What do I really want to communicate? This self-reflection can facilitate communication, as you'll be better prepared to articulate your thoughts and feelings. The practice of active listening is equally important. When you genuinely listen to what the other person is saying, you demonstrate respect and genuine interest. This goes beyond simply hearing the words. It involves understanding the emotional context behind them. When people feel they are truly being heard, they tend to open up more, creating an atmosphere of trust. This trust is essential for communication to flow naturally. Vulnerability can also be a challenge in more formal settings, such as at work. Often, social norms can discourage the expression of feelings, leading to an environment of superficiality. However, creating a culture of openness in the workplace can have a significant impact. This can be achieved through practices that encourage honest communication, such as regular feedback meetings, where individuals feel comfortable sharing their opinions without fear of retaliation. Another aspect to consider is that not all communication needs to be verbal. Body language, tone of voice, and even silence play a crucial role in how messages are received. Sometimes a glance or a gesture can communicate more than words. Be aware of how you present yourself in conversations. This can affect how your messages are interpreted. And when it comes to silences, these can also be significant. In some situations, a moment of silence can be a necessary pause to reflect on what has been said. However, if the silence drags on, it can indicate discomfort or a lack of understanding. In such cases, it's essential to address the silence and seek to clarify what is happening. Asking the other person how they feel about what has been discussed can open new doors to communication. Mental health is also intrinsically tied to the ability to express oneself. The accumulation of unspoken emotions can lead to serious issues like anxiety and depression. By avoiding expression, you may be contributing to your own suffering. It's crucial to acknowledge that your emotional health is just as important as your physical health, and communication is a vital tool for taking care of that health. On a broader scale, the lack of communication can also impact society as a whole. When people feel unable to express themselves, it can lead to increased resentment and polarization. The willingness to engage in dialogue, even about difficult topics, is crucial for building more cohesive and supportive communities. When you open up, you're doing your part to foster a more welcoming and empathetic environment. The key to overcoming silence lies in constant practice. Every interaction is an opportunity to exercise your communication skills. By committing to opening up and listening to others, you not only improve your own relationships, but also contribute to a healthier social environment. This practice can start with small steps, but the effects can be profound and lasting. Ultimately, never underestimate the power of your words. What you have to say is important and can have a significant impact on those around you. By choosing to express yourself, you are not only claiming your voice, but also encouraging others to do the same. This exchange of experiences and emotions is what enriches life and builds genuine connections. Therefore, when faced with the choice between silence and speaking up, remember that your voice is valuable and deserves to be heard. The process of opening up and sharing what is in your heart can be challenging, but it is essential for personal development and building healthy relationships. Often, the hesitation to express oneself is linked to past experiences where vulnerability was not well received. It is crucial not to let these negative experiences define your ability to communicate in the present. Reflect on what you truly want to convey. Self-awareness is a powerful tool in this process. Ask yourself, what do I feel? What do I want the other person to understand? This clarity can help articulate your thoughts more effectively. Clear and honest communication is a skill that develops with practice. The more you dedicate yourself to expressing your feelings, the more natural this exchange becomes. It's also important to recognize that communication is not just about what you say, but how you say it. Tone of voice, posture, and body language play crucial roles in how your words are received. A calm and open tone can ease understanding and foster empathy from the other person. Be aware that others may also be grappling with their own insecurities and fears. When you open up to someone, you create an opportunity for that person to feel comfortable as well. Reciprocity is a fundamental part of communication. When you make the effort to express yourself, you can inspire the other person to do the same. This exchange is what strengthens bonds and builds an atmosphere of trust. Also, consider the importance of choosing the right time for communication. It's not always the best moment to open up. Sometimes emotions can be too intense, making conversation difficult. Selecting a time when both of you are calm and receptive can increase the chances of successful communication. Remember that silence is not always a healthy option. While it may seem easier to avoid addressing a delicate issue, this often leads to a buildup of negative emotions and misunderstandings. What could be a brief and meaningful conversation turns into a heavy burden that you carry. The weight of unspoken words can interfere with your ability to connect with others and ultimately affect your emotional well-being. The practice of open communication is especially important in workplace environments. When teams communicate transparently, productivity and morale increase. An environment where employees feel comfortable sharing ideas and concerns is one that fosters innovation and collaboration. When people feel heard, they become more engaged and motivated. Furthermore, the ability to handle conflicts openly and respectfully is a valuable skill. Instead of avoiding difficult discussions, it's more productive to face them honestly. This doesn't mean you should be confrontational, but rather that you should address issues directly, seeking solutions together. This approach not only resolves problems, but also strengthens bonds, showing that you value others' opinions. Another important aspect is listening. Practicing active listening is essential for effective communication. This involves paying attention to what the other person is saying, asking clarifying questions, and validating their feelings. When you show that you are listening attentively, you create a safe space for the other person to express themselves. This dynamic is crucial for building deep and meaningful connections. Moreover, communication should be an ongoing practice, not something that only occurs during moments of crisis. It is vital to cultivate the habit of sharing not only concerns, but also joys and accomplishments. These everyday interactions are what strengthen relationships and create a sense of community. When you share positive moments, you help balance interactions and create a supportive atmosphere. A lack of communication can also have a generational impact. Often, patterns of silence are passed down from parents to children. If you grew up in an environment where feelings were not discussed, it may be more challenging to open up in adulthood. Recognizing these patterns is the first step to breaking them. By committing to being more open, you create a new communication model for future generations. When it comes to mental health, expressing feelings is crucial. Repressing emotions can lead to stress, anxiety, and depression. When you don't allow yourself to feel and express what you're going through, you are putting your health at risk. It is essential to prioritize your emotional well-being and seek ways to communicate, even if it requires effort. Writing can be a helpful tool in this process. Sometimes putting your thoughts on paper can help organize your emotions and facilitate communication. You might write a letter, keep a journal, or even craft messages that will never be sent. This practice can provide a new perspective on your feelings and prepare you for future conversations. Lastly, It's vital to remember that communication is a skill that can be improved over time. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Every interaction is an opportunity for learning and growth. The important thing is to remain committed to the process of expression and openness. By doing so, you not only free yourself from the silences that confine you, but also allow others to do the same. Choosing to express yourself is ultimately a decision to live fully. By opting for communication, you are investing in your own emotional freedom. Life is short, and every moment of unexplored silence is a missed opportunity. So, choose to be heard. Choose to connect with others in a meaningful way. And above all, choose to be free in your expression. Throughout life, it's common for us to face situations where we feel overwhelmed by emotions and thoughts that prevent us from communicating effectively. Often, social pressure or the expectation to keep the peace leads us to stifle our feelings. This dynamic not only impacts our mental health, but also harms the relationships we value the most. When we fail to express ourselves, we create a cycle of insecurity and distrust that can be hard to break. It's important to recognize that communication is not just a skill, but a fundamental human need. Each of us longs to be heard, understood, and accepted. When we decide to open up, we are not only sharing our experiences, but also inviting others to do the same. This exchange of vulnerabilities is crucial for building healthy and meaningful relationships. A key aspect to consider is the importance of time and space when communicating. Often, the environment we choose to open up in makes all the difference. A warm and calm setting can facilitate genuine expression. On the other hand, a crowded space or one filled with distractions can inhibit communication. Therefore, it's essential to create favorable conditions that encourage openness and honesty. Additionally, clarity in communication is vital. If we don't have clarity about what we want to express, the message can get lost. Taking the time to reflect on our feelings before opening up can help articulate better what we wish to say. This preparation doesn't mean rehearsing a speech, but rather having a clear understanding of what's in our hearts. Active listening, as mentioned earlier, is a skill that complements expression. When we commit to truly hearing what the other person is saying, we create an environment of trust. This allows communication to flow more naturally. Validating the other person's feelings is a crucial step in this process. When someone feels heard and understood, their willingness to open up increases. Another important aspect to consider is the consistency of communication. It is essential to cultivate the habit of expressing oneself, not only in times of crisis, but also in daily routines. Sharing small joys and everyday concerns can strengthen bonds. This helps create a safe space where deeper conversations can take place when necessary. On the other hand, it's important to remember that not all interactions lead to immediate understanding. Sometimes misunderstandings can occur, even when the intention to communicate is good. In these cases, patience is key. Being willing to clarify points and discuss respectfully can help resolve conflicts and prevent them from becoming barriers. As we become more comfortable expressing ourselves, we can face more challenging situations. Conversations about delicate topics, such as feelings of sadness or frustration, can be difficult, but they are essential for emotional health. When addressing sensitive issues, it's important to be kind to yourself and others. Vulnerability is an act of courage, and each step in this direction contributes to strengthening relationships. In professional contexts, open communication also plays a crucial role. Work environments where people feel comfortable expressing their opinions and concerns are more productive. A leader who promotes a space for dialogue and active listening can inspire their team to engage more deeply. This not only boosts morale but also fosters innovation and collaboration. A lack of communication can lead to misunderstandings that, if not addressed, can escalate into larger conflicts. Therefore, it is essential for teams to develop mechanisms for openly discussing their concerns. Regular meetings, continuous feedback, and a respectful environment are key to preventing minor issues from turning into significant challenges. The practice of empathetic communication should be a priority. This involves recognizing others' emotions and responding in a way that makes them feel valued. When we cultivate empathy in our interactions, we create an environment where everyone feels comfortable expressing themselves. This dynamic not only enhances communication, but also strengthens the team as a whole. Another important consideration is the difference between verbal and nonverbal communication. Often gestures, facial expressions, and tone of voice can convey as much as words do. Being aware of body language and how we present ourselves can have a significant impact on how our messages are received. A welcoming look or a smile can open doors to conversations that might otherwise be difficult. Moreover, silence, while often interpreted as discomfort, can also have its place. Moments of pause can be important for reflecting on what has been said and allowing everyone to absorb the conversation. However, it is crucial that these silences do not become the norm. Prolonged silence can indicate disconnection or a lack of understanding, and it is important to address it constructively. It is vital to cultivate a growth mindset regarding communication. Recognizing that we are always learning and evolving in our expression skills can help us feel more at ease. Continuous practice is vital for improving this skill. Every conversation is a learning opportunity, and we should value each interaction, regardless of the outcome. In conclusion, when reflecting on the importance of communication in our lives, it's essential to remember that we are all imperfect human beings seeking connection. Vulnerability, fear, and insecurity are universal feelings that we all face. By opening up and sharing our experiences, we not only create deeper bonds but also contribute to a world where empathy and understanding are valued. Therefore, when confronted with the choice between silence and speaking up, remember that your voice matters. Every word you choose to share has the potential to create meaningful connections and impact those around you. The courage to express yourself is not just an act of personal freedom, but also a gift you offer to the world. It's an invitation to authenticity, understanding, and the building of true relationships. When you choose to open up and share your feelings, you create an opportunity for a more honest and transparent dialogue. This benefits not only you, but also allows others to feel comfortable expressing themselves. This exchange is fundamental for establishing a solid foundation in any kind of relationship. Honesty in your communications fosters a trusting environment where everyone feels safe to share their experiences. Moreover, by expressing yourself, you are also allowing yourself a space for emotional self-care. Often holding in feelings can lead to a buildup of stress and anxiety. By externalizing your emotions, you lighten the emotional load you carry. It's a way to relieve the tensions that may have accumulated over time. This practice of communication is not only healthy, but also essential for maintaining psychological well-being. Working on your ability to communicate takes practice and patience. Start with small steps. Sharing thoughts or feelings in informal conversations can make the transition to deeper discussions easier. As you become more comfortable opening up, the next step might be to tackle more complex and sensitive issues. Regular practice of honest communication helps create a culture of openness around you. It's important to recognize that communication is a two-way street. While you strive to be clear and honest about your feelings, you must also be willing to listen to and validate the feelings of others. This demonstrates respect and genuine interest, encouraging the same behavior in return. When people feel heard, their willingness to open up increases significantly. In professional contexts, this skill becomes even more crucial. Environments where communication is encouraged tend to be more productive and collaborative. Regular meetings that promote the exchange of ideas and feedback help prevent misunderstandings and conflicts. A leader who knows how to listen and value the opinions of the team creates a space where everyone feels valued and engaged. Moreover, cultivating a mindset of continuous learning regarding communication is vital. Every interaction is an opportunity to hone your skills. Be open to feedback and willing to adjust your approach. Over time, this practice will become more natural and fluid. Communication is a skill that can be developed and improved, and this evolution is a sign of personal growth. Finally, as you reflect on the importance of expressing yourself, remember that each of us has the potential to positively impact the lives of others. Your words have the power to build relationships, create connections, and foster an environment of empathy and understanding. By choosing to be heard, you not only free yourself from silence, but also contribute to a more welcoming and supportive world. Before you leave, do two things right now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And, if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.